Well, I'm going to examine this Dr. Sabi. I'm going to say some things plus and minus, but I'm mainly plus by far on Dr. Sabi. Um, but I'm also going to give you a couple caveats of wisdom on anybody that has a successful business um, that you just, it's common sense. Now, one other thing, I know a lot of people always pursuing wealth and happiness and material things, but health is wealth. That's probably one of your best cliches out there, or just one of the things to remember on anything. I don't know if Dr. Sabi said this himself, but I'm sure he would have agreed with it. Now, the other thing is I want to get into is one of these herbs. It's called bladderwrack. It's actually a type of seaweed or kelp. And I have taken like Japanese seaweed and kelp before, and I think it does boost your energy because the iodine in it will bring up the production of your thyroid gland, and that helps you also with losing weight because it helps you boost your metabolism. But also, there's a number of benefits from iodine. Actually, I want to I'll link another video on it on the bottom actually regarding iodine because it's one of those types of things. Now, this herb is not actually an African herb per se. It actually comes from the North Sea. It's one of the herbs he recommended. I don't think you need to always get African herbs or whatever. I mean, there's herbs all over the place, and there's always claims of who the hell originated what. But basically, what we got today with the internet, we can take grains of wisdom from various cultures and get the solution for what works. Now, one of the things with Dr. Sabi, I want to present this too because it's another angle. I read the pros and the cons on Dr. Sabi. My opinion of him, he's a very good guy. He was legit. I don't think everything he said as far as the rational reason why something was, because I know he explained everything as one disease, and it was mucus, right? That was one of the things. Either you have mucus of the lungs, you have mucus of the blood system, mucus of something or whatever. I guess it's one way of looking at it, because the modern day medicine, it's such a joke the way they even term things. They take the Latin word for something. So if you have an infection of the eye, conjunctivitis, right? Itis means infection, and it's like they just take the Latin words for whatever a common person would say. My knee hurts, and they would say, well, your condition is knee hurts in Latin. And they make it sound like a big $500 word, and they give you a big $500 bill. Now, the other thing is I want to say one critical of his herbs aren't really cheap. I was looking at this stuff, and I was like, whoa, you got to be kidding me, dude. Now, one thing is, I think this is the problem with anybody that gets successful in a business, right? You usually got to get that guy. I don't know, because I read things on Ripoff Report, and I don't know how accurate that garbage is, because it could be freaking people just slamming them. And I know some people love I like Dr. Sabi. Okay, I think he was really, really legit. But sometimes when you have people you have a really good guy like that, he's the focal point, and he's the spear point of the driving force of what's making things happen. A lot of times you get people around him, whether it's associates or family, that are nowhere near his caliber, and sometimes they're quite the opposite. And I think that's where some of the criticism comes in. I think he himself was very good. Now, as far as the court case that was in New York, where he was not found guilty of practicing medicine without a license, I think the judge wanted to have 9 people show examples of 9 people, one for each disease, to show where he cured it. And he got like 70-something people to testify that he cured their conditions. Now, to me, that's proof, but then again, it's not like... I know he has proof, but I haven't seen all the proofs, that's one thing. But I think the one strong... But you have to remember, it's sort of like not finding somebody guilty of not practicing... of practicing medicine without a license is different from an absolute proof that he cured these diseases, but I think he did. Okay, I do think he did. Um, One of the things that one of the strongest arguments is actually one of the things he didn't talk about as much is that he did get a female pregnant when he was 82 years old. So that tells you he knows a lot about health. That's a very important issue. I think a lot of 82-year-old males would like to know the secret to that too. Now, as far as the quality of his herbs, I am not 110% sure what's going on because I heard various things. I personally, I'm going to get some of his herbs that he recommended, but I'm going to go through Nature's Way, which is based in Utah, and they're high quality. I mean, some people say they're not the best quality, but it says right on there premium herbs and all premium garbage, whatever. Now, one thing I used to take a lot was Japanese seaweed, and I used to mix it in with the tuna fish and all that stuff. Now, one thing is too. This bladder rat, as I mentioned, can help boost your metabolism to help you lose weight. Now, I don't know what the hell I did back in 2007, but from January to June 2007, I dropped like 85 pounds. I know I was working out 3 hours a day, and I continued doing that for the next umpteen years. And then I gradually, when I stopped doing that, I started gaining weight. But somehow something clicked whereby I lost the weight and I had the energy to work out, and I still had plenty of energy during the rest of the day. It's like when you're taking these herbs, you got to make sure you're not counteracting them with garbage processed foods. I think that's one of the main. See, I'm examining the pros and cons of him. I'm giving you a rational thing. He is accurate, okay? What he's saying is accurate. And the herbs he's recommending are excellent. But if you're going to go eat a bag of cheese doodles and take bladder rat or whatever herbs you have out there, and you're wondering why it's not working as well, well, it's because you counteracted it with garbage. As a matter of fact, if you look at a chart, there's another thing. I know he calls it electric food. He might be borrowing ideas from things that were around before because, Dr. Thomas Becker, I think it was, talked about the body electric. The body it's an electrical chemical machine, okay? If you can bring up the frequencies of cells, which is also by saying bringing in electricity and charging the batteries, which is also alkalizing, yeah, that freaking makes you much stronger, and then you can fight off any disease. That was his method. But he was far more successful in this because of the types of herbs he chose. He did not go with anything man-made. He went right to the root of nature itself. Now, I was surprised that even some of the things like Chinese chlorella is not really even at the root of nature. I thought that was at the root of nature. I think his wisdom was beyond stellar without any kind of formal education. And in my opinion it's my opinion. I think he was flat out murdered in that jail in Honduras. He was set up to put in there, and it was probably in cahoots with the U.S. government and the FDA. That's my opinion on it. I know a lot of people aren't saying that, but that's my opinion on it. Okay? This guy was a good guy all the way. But then, you got to watch because, what I'm trying to tell you here is I don't want his message to get lost. So I'm bringing out some of the criticisms of some of the things, and I'm telling you why there were criticisms. One is he's the good guy. He's the spear point. And from what I always see with people in business that are the spear point, I mean, they're not 100% good, but say they're 97% good, right? Maybe there's always a fault with somebody on the top. But the point is, usually they're the really good guy, right? A lot of times, the really good guy, that's the guy you got to get. If you're trying to get treated for something, that's the guy you got to get. Not necessarily does it go to the offspring or all the associates or all the people around him. So I think some of the complaints, which most of them aren't complaints, but some of the complaints that are legitimate are stemming from not Dr. Sebi, but people that were around him, like the barnacles, you know. The other thing is, I don't know what's going on today with his products. Are they of the same quality? Because I saw some things where that didn't like the quality, and I'm like, damn, this is screwed up because it's making a guy look bad, and I think he's absolutely 100% correct. And so maybe you want to look at some of the herbs he recommended, like bladderwrack, which is, there's other ones, sarsaparilla, and you want to take foods and that really bring up the frequency and electrify the body that are at the root of nature. And you do not, this is where the things don't work, because some people are saying it doesn't work. If you're counteracting it with, I don't know, tacos or something like that, and burritos and cheeseburgers, well, you're going to have a lot of problems. And even independent of Dr. Sebi, I could tell you, like, our Western diet, which is acronym is called SAD, Standard American Diet, is probably one. It keeps you alive, but it's probably one of the worst diets going. As a matter of fact, like, say for instance, you have the typical hamburger, cheeseburger on a bun, on a roll, right, or whatever, bread. It's like you got to digest the bread first, and then it's like the body doesn't work like digesting all those different things together. It's difficult to digest the cheese, and then by the time the body gets around to just digesting the meat, which is not even the best thing in the world for you, it's halfway rancid. Now, there's a couple of things I think Dr. Sebi said. Well, let me say this. The most important thing is for your health is what you put in your mouth. That he said that, and that's absolutely right. Now, some other things, what do you call that? The colon cleanse, that might help. I mean, it's not getting up. I know he said that it's not the best in the world because it doesn't get up into the small intestines, and actually, the gut and the small intestines is where 90% of your immune system is, or 80 to 90%, and also where disease starts. So it's not getting up in that area, but it could still be somewhat beneficial. But I do agree that, I think it's overrated. As far as these colon cleanses and all this stuff. Now, one thing you could do, that there's only two things I think that are man-made, but they're not exactly man-made. They're found in nature, where the man-made thing is identical to nature, is vitamin C, Exorbate, right? Exorbic powder, and sodium bicarbonate, baking soda. Both are electron donors. Bicarbonate, actually the sodium is not really the best part of it. It's actually the bicarbonate. The bicarbonate is the part that's the electron donor, and you can that is electric food. The point, I recommended that on different ways because it's the poor man's stuff. The one thing I was like a little bit miffed about was the cost of his products. I was like, wow, baby, you're up there in a freaking stratosphere. So I was looking at what they sell, and I says, maybe it's best to get it from something like this place, Nature's Way or something. Somebody will criticize it because they got fillers or some garbage or whatever. Yeah, I know. And one other thing I saw, which I think is very beneficial, he had the healing waters in Honduras where you can, bathe in the spring and alkalize your body. And I forgot what it was, $1,500 a week or something, or whatever the hell it was. I forgot what it was, but I was thinking, that's a lot of money. So what do you do that would, go along with his principles that's close to the same? Well, you could take simple sodium bicarbonate, baking soda. Now, you wouldn't have to worry about getting too much salt in the body if you're using it on the exterior. Put the sodium bicarbonate in the bath water with a little organic apple cider vinegar, and what you're immersing yourself in is a very alkalizing solution that costs you pennies instead of going all the way to Honduras to do this stuff. Because now that he's not alive, I'm not sure how to I don't want to be too critical of it because maybe the operation is going just great, but I heard pluses and minuses. Even though I'm 100% sure this guy was all legit, and in my mind, besides him being 100% legit, I know he's legit, but I'm freaking 99.9% sure they wanted to just get this guy out of the loop all the way and shut him up. And my message here is not to shut him up. I want to get the message out on him. And actually, well, some of the herbs I didn't know about. I didn't know about all the herbs out there because, I started ordering some of them. One was bladder rat. One was, not sarsaparilla, sarsaparilla, and I got it from Nature's Way because it's an actual good quality company. Now, I'm going to tell you one reason I got sold. And God, this is not a commercial for Nature's Way. There's no link to Nature's Way on anything, but where I was told about this was two different people. One was a woman I knew a while ago. She had MS, multiple sclerosis, which is like very debilitating. She stopped it cold and reversed everything, and she's in perfect health. What she does is every single item she picks up off the supermarket shelf, no chemicals, no food coloring, no artificial preservatives, nothing. And the one vitamin she takes is this Nature's Way Alive Whole Fill, the Energizer, which I started taking back, I think, in 2005. Now, there's some crazy people out there that are medical doctors will tell you it's all real bad for you because it's got botanicals in it. I'm like, wow, baby. That's one reason, even though I'm trying to tell you some of the aspects that watch out for with some of the herbal healing, the medical doctors, you better watch out everything they say. I heard medical doctors say that the botanicals in natural 100% whole food vitamins will cause psychosis, will cause problems in your body functions and everything. The exact opposite of what Dr. Sebi's saying. Actually, Dr. Sebi's foods will cure the mind and give you a positive outlook, which goes along with positive psychology, which is something that's actually a new thing out there. Because Dr. Sebi actually was somebody who changed himself drastically for the better. It's a shame. He could have been 250 years old if they did not put him in that Honduras jail. Freaking government is criminal as all hell, and I'm like annoyed at it. Now, actually, I'm going to tell you, it's sort of like, European customers, or whatever, the Caucasian European customers, were probably the main slice of his income. I'm going to tell you that, too. So it's not like strictly, reserved only for, African or whatever it is. That was a main portion of his customers. And his stuff worked very well. But what I'm also trying to tell people is because his stuff is not cheap. I looked at it and I said, wow. And I saw, and I don't know if it's since he died that the quality has been going up and down and whatever. Maybe it's fine. Maybe I'm wrong about this. But I saw some bad reviews on certain things, and I don't think it's from him. I think it's, like I said, anytime you got a guy like this, he's the good guy. You don't know. He's going around trying to preach the word. Other people are running the business. They probably aren't. There might be that they're not putting the same care into it, but you got to keep on with what he's saying. This is what you don't want to lose. And I know, like, to go down to Honduras to go in a special bath is going to cost you some serious bucks if you want to do that. Is that worth it? In my opinion, no. Where you would just do the baking soda baths. Like, I seen where they recommend a quarter cup of baking soda, but a cup and a half, bath water, plus, maybe a half a cup of apple cider vinegar, and you stay in there for a couple hours, and you'll actually be pretty trashed out after you get out of that because it's detoxifying your body. I remember I'd done that. Every time I did that, I didn't go to the gym that day because I was too tired. Because it was detoxifying so much stuff. It works, but it's dirt cheap to do. And it's along the same principles of it's causing electrons to get into your body through your skin, which is your largest organ. So the healing baths in Honduras, they do work, but on a practical side, you know, I'm gonna like I just mentioned, a lot of his customers, and I think most of his revenue, I don't know what his financials are, but I think most of his revenue were coming from white European Caucasians of that ancestry, because they had the money to spend on the herbs or go to the baths and all this other stuff. Well, you know what? Black people are probably not going to be able to afford all that stuff, so what the hell are you going to do? So it's like, am I telling you something wrong here? Maybe I'm not telling you the best thing, but cost-wise for benefits, you're probably better off trying to find herbs cheaper. And my opinion was, because I found out from one woman that worked in a couple of those, mainly the one that impressed me the most was the one that had MS. She always takes the Nature's Way stuff. Not that I'm selling it, you know, and I'm not even pitching for Dr. Sebi, and I'm trying to tell you, I'm addressing the criticisms of him. I'm addressing them because I'm telling you, the criticisms of him, some of them are not, well, they're all not telling you the exact angle what's going on. Some of them are legitimate, but they're not of him specifically. Like, it's sometimes I think there's somebody in the organization that might not have been too cool, and he was the cool guy, and you had to get him. But he's one guy. He's going around on the lectures. How the hell is he going to freaking take care of everybody that wants to get cured? He can't. He's one guy. Not everybody around this guy. It's just my observation from seeing people that were really good. Usually got the good guy, and not everybody around him is the best. But that makes it look bad for him, right? And I'm not trying to make him look bad, you understand? But I'm trying to also offer an alternative where people, because the main people that can afford his stuff and were really white European people. So what the hell are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, maybe get some of these herbs and from another source that's high quality. Now, I don't think this is the only place it's good, but it's the only place I know that I trust. What could you do instead of taking the alkalizing spring waters that are available at his place in the village in Honduras? Well, you could use the baking soda and apple cider baths. What can you use in place of maybe electric food? Vitamin C powder in lemon juice. Lemon juice, even though it's acidic in its pH, when it's broken down in the body, it's extremely alkalizing. It's the most alkalizing. Lemons are the most alkalizing food in nature that you can eat, and it's cheap. So lemons will work along the same principles as Dr. Sebi. Now, if you're not doing everything perfect and you're taking some vitamin C powder and lemons, which is dirt cheap, and some baking soda, even though you're not doing everything perfect, those alkalizing things that are dirt cheap are very good to counteract some of the crap you're doing wrong. But his stuff works best when you are totally removed from all the poisons and toxins. You're not going to get any kind of miracle. So I remember when I don't know what the hell I did, but I'm too tempted sometimes by some of the garbage foods, and I don't like do it because I've been, when all your life you've been having hamburgers and whatever, tacos and burritos and shit, you're not going to actually just change that radically, But I remember when I got on stir-fried vegetables with there was like hot sauces and various herbs I would put on it, like turmeric, oregano, rosemary, and coconut oil, and crushed red peppers, regular pepper, and sea salt, and also with fish. I remember that was like my lunch. Then I would go to the gym for freaking 3 hours, and then I would eat some organic stuff at night after I come back from the gym. And if I was starved during the day, I would eat an apple. So I would probably eat maybe 5 apples during the day. I dropped 85 pounds in 5 months, and I was back to what I was, when I was in doing athletics in high school and also in the Marine Corps. And later on I was in the Marine Corps, and I was like, wow. People were like, how the hell did you do that? And I had good energy. You got to really, his methods work best when you're avoiding all the other stuff. But it's very difficult to do because most people that are around you are doing things you're not supposed you shouldn't be doing. So you kind of fall right back in those habits very easy. And that happens with everybody. That happens to everybody. But his methods will work extremely well if you avoid all the garbage. Because if you're going to take these supplements, you got to the supplements, instead of being in other words, the Bladderwrack, for instance, or whatever, or sarsaparilla, if you're taking those things, if you're counteracting them with, a double bacon cheeseburger or some garbage, well, guess what? It's like it's not going to freaking work, man. It's not going to work. You want to have the herbs feeding your body 100%. And something happens where something clicks where, I don't know what it is, but I've experienced this before. You drop weight like crazy, and without even any effort. But it's like you got to get the machine clicking just right, and then all of a sudden it works. Because when you start doing it, it's like you feel too damn tired, and you got to eat some other stuff that's not an herb, and that's what happens, But I think this guy was 110% legit all the way, and I do think he was murdered. But, where people are, in other words, everybody should be doing what he said. Everybody on the freaking planet. As a matter of fact, if everybody on the planet was doing what he said, we'd probably have world peace, for crying out loud, too, because this improves your mental outlook across the world, everywhere. It not only improves the body, it improves the mind, and improves the spirituality and the good vibes, everything across the world. But his message sometimes is getting, because I had to look at, well, first off, there's a site out there I don't trust at all, which is called Quackwatch, and I looked at what they said about him, and I was like, wow, Quackwatch. But I had to agree with one thing. The court not finding him guilty of practicing medicine without a license is not the same as, and even though he had all these 70-something people that testified they cured their diseases, did not prove, the court wasn't out there to prove that his methods cured. The court was only trying to make a decision. Is he guilty of practicing medicine without a license or not? And he was the only guy that didn't get slammed on this stuff, which, justifiably, I wouldn't have, to me, if the guy freaking, his stuff worked 20% of the time, I still wouldn't have found him guilty, because I really can't, but it worked 100% of the time, and it works 100% of the time if you follow it to a T. But I also realize the only people that got the money to do this stuff are usually the white European Caucasians. And what do you do if you're not in that money group? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, the next best thing is get the herbs he recommended, maybe from other sources. I don't know. They're made here in the United States, because these Nature's Way is out of Utah. It's the best one I know of for the money. It probably does better stuff, but bang for the buck. I think they're the best. And what's other things you can do to alkalize the body, to electrify the body? Vitamin C powder. I just go to Hard Rhino, hardrhino.com. I'm going to think it's a plug, but that's not what I'm not plugging them. It's what I do, okay? And the vitamin C powder, you can get like 2 kilogram bags of it for dirt cheap. It's like nothing. Just put it in everything you drink. Lemon juice, put it in any type of herbal tea you drink. anything you drink, put some of that lentil, except if it's, make it curdle. But he also told you to avoid milk and lactose. And make sure if you're using the bath waters, use the baking soda and the apple cider vinegar, because it's going to be an electron donor. It's going to be highly alkalizing water with a high pH that's going to electrify the body, and you're not going to have to go all the way to Honduras and spend all that money. So, what do you do if you don't have money? What do you do if you don't have money? I mean, that's what you do. And it's not exactly perfectly following everything he said right to the T, but it's still going to be very beneficial for the bang for the buck, and it is still bringing out what his word was. I think this guy was 110% legit all the way. It's just that we don't have, and this is what pisses me off about doctors, man, because they're all a bunch of, not him. I mean, I don't know, because he doesn't have a medical license, but he's Dr. Sebi. He's practicing medicine without a license. That's good. I'm glad you are practicing medicine without a license, because I trust you more. But these doctors that have medical licenses, they're all in with the pharmaceutical, obviously, and it's like none of them will stick their neck out to verify what he did. And that's what burns me up, because I wish there was some freaking honest doctor out there that could say, this patient, using Dr. Sebi's methods, had this and no longer has it. If it's sickle cell anemia, multiple sclerosis, or whatever, diabetes, blindness, tuberculosis, or whatever, and he cures it. Or it was a miracle and it just went away. Whatever. But the problem is, you're never going to see these medical jackasses do this. These ones that are, have the licenses, because they're all about the damn money. But I'm going to tell you, on the flip side, I don't think Dr. Sebi was about the money, but I am not 110% sure about everybody that's around it was around him. This is what always happens to guys. I'm not saying him, but this is what I've noticed is, because let me say this, my background is in accounting. I have a strong interest in health. I've seen every time you get this guy that's a spearhead of a business, and he's doing some good in the community. It could be for medical research. It could be he's a builder. He's trying to do whatever. He's doing something where he's trying to help. He's making a business. He's making money, but he's providing exponentially great services to people, and that's why their business is expanding, right? Every time I've seen people like that, no matter what field they're in, they always seem to get people around them, associates and family, that are the ones you do not want to go to. And this Dr. Sebi could not be spread around amongst all the people that wanted to help. That's why there's some bad reports. Not many, but they're there. They're there, and it's not from him. So I'm telling you this to counteract the stuff that is negative out there about Dr. Sebi. And the other thing is, if you're doing his methods and you're taking the herbs, or you're doing the baths, or say you went to Honduras or whatever and you did the baths and you did the herbs, if you do not stop taking the poison foods and counteracting the goodness of the African herbs that are right from the root, well, then you are not doing what he said exactly. And actually, some of these herbs are not really African, which is kind of weird, because bladderwrack actually is from the North Sea, and it goes right along with Irish moss. So I don't know. I mean, I think a lot of things are, it's kind of like you might find like Chaga, which is another, I don't know if he recommended that or not, but I'll just mention here, Chaga is like a mushroom type, a hard type of mushroom. It almost looks like a tree bark that grows on trees. You get it from like the state of Maine, There's some places up there in the state of Maine that sell it. Northern Siberia, there's some peoples in northern Siberia that live to be ripe old ages because they take this chaga. I don't know if he recommended that, but not everything has to come from Africa. But I also think this. The American CIA's plot to kill off as many people in Africa through AIDS and HIV and Ebola has largely failed due to the African herbs that are there. And, well, nature. Because where you're getting the most energy in the food is from the sun itself. And this would also apply to like Central and South America, where the sun is actually bringing the most energy into foods, is also, bringing up the frequency of the food. And when you're taking that food in, it's bringing up the frequency of the body. Just as an additional note, if you look at on a scale of frequency of food, like food has a frequency. Processed food has a frequency of zero. So when you take in processed food, you're actually lowering the frequency of the body, which is bringing it towards the cancerous level, towards death. Even though it's providing you with some energy, the body is still breaking down the food and using it for building blocks and energy. But when you take in processed food, it has absolute zero frequency. When you take in non-processed food, it has a higher frequency. Now, if you take in organic food that's grown organically, of course, then it has a higher frequency than processed food. Then if you take in herbs versus organic food, the herbs generally have a higher frequency than the organic food. Now, if you're taking the highest quality essential oils, they have a frequency even higher than the herbs. Now, I'm not sure if Dr. Sebi got in with the essential oils, but then essential oils is a whole other subject, because essential oils vary in quality immensely. But if you are taking in only herbs, organic foods, and essential oils, and you're avoiding all processed foods, genetically modified, and the types of foods Dr. Sebi said to avoid, you will get well from anything. And that's why his methods do work. But I just wanted to, kind of like bring out some of the criticisms here, because it wasn't him. I think there was some legit criticisms out there, but I think it was people that were around him that were the problem. Certain people. It wasn't him. And today, I'm not sure about. And you see, the thing is, I don't want the government getting involved in freaking regulating supplements. Oh God, you know what they would do? They'd probably radiate everything to freaking kill whatever's in there. That's just like what they do today with a lot of the foods that come out of Walmart, right? They radiate everything. So, health is wealth, and unfortunately, people don't have the wealth to pursue the proper health. And like I mentioned before, a lot of Dr. Sebi's customers, and I think most of his money was actually coming from white Europeans. Whether they were Norwegians, they were white South Africans. I mean, type of people you would think, that wouldn't be into African stuff, the medicines, but his stuff worked. That's why they're into it. But his stuff is not that cheap. It's not that cheap. So what the hell you do if you don't have the money? Well, you could buy the same herbs from maybe not Nature's Way, but that's one I trust, okay? But you can also buy electrifying types of items, supplements like vitamin C powder, because the Exorbate that's sold in a powder form is identically, it's one, because I know there's vitamins like vitamin E. You got the natural form and the unnatural form, and you got cod liver oil D, and you got an unnatural form and stuff. And I'm going to tell you honestly that pretty much always the vitamins that come from nature work, and the ones that are pharmaceutically synthesized do not work. But in the case of vitamin C, ascorbic acid, it's that stuff is actually still very beneficial because chemically it actually is accurately what is produced in throughout nature. That is one they got right. Everything else they have not got right, including like lycopene and things like that. It's not correct. Lycopene from nature is very beneficial. Lycopene from not from nature is not beneficial in the least. It's garbage. And sodium bicarbonate, that's fine. Now I know I seen people argue with me that the one from the earth is better than the one that's manufactured from earth is better than the one that's comes from that's manufactured, in a manufacturing process. Yeah, maybe marginally, but then again, do you want to pay 3-4 times as much for something when you don't have the money to do so? Because health is wealth, but it requires wealth to get health. And here's the freaking catch-22 with the whole 9 yards. So Dr. Sebi's methods work, but most of his customers were white Caucasians. I don't know if most of them were, but most of his money probably was coming from the white Caucasians. And that tells you, even if this stuff works, how the hell are you going to afford it? So I'm telling you, like, I think it does work, and you might read some, if you look, because I looked to see what was negative about him, and I says, I think I understand what the negative is. It's not him, it's other people around him. And it could be varying quality of maybe what the herbs are sold. I don't know. Since he's not around anymore, I don't know how well his products are going to continue on and be, of the same caliber they were. So what do? Well, you follow all his advice, and you might want to choose places that maybe are less money but are high quality. And if you're gonna you want to do the healing baths, you could do what I recommended. Now, you can also get the essential oils, but I'll tell you one thing: those essential oils are not cheap. They are the really good quality ones out there. And I don't think he sold those. I don't know if he did or didn't, but I know they can heal stuff left and right, the essential oils. But you got to use the best quality ones. And the thing is, I don't think they're. I don't think people could afford them. I mean, if you're renting an apartment in the city someplace, and you got to pay for essential oils for the month that cost twice your rent, what are you gonna do? Well, you go online, you go to rhino.com, and you don't get essential oils or hard rhino, whatever the hell it is, and you get vitamin C powder, and you buy lemon juice, and you get some box of baking soda, even though it's not, whatever the ones that's directly mined from the earth. You just go to a freaking supermarket and you buy baking soda, and it's pretty damn close. Bang for the buck, it's going to help a lot. And if you get some herbs, you might want to outsource them someplace else, but do follow his advice. And the best way to get more in with his advice than maybe not buying all the expensive stuff, but is to make sure you don't put the garbage in your body. And sometimes that is extremely difficult to do because you're always around people that are doing the garbage. And I was like, man, one thing that's why I used to always keep an apple with me all the time, because I'd see these people eating this garbage, and that would make me hungry, so I would eat an apple, and that was like the only kind of food I can carry around that was, it's all encompassing and You can eat the whole apple and throw it away. There's nothing left, including the seeds, which have vitamin B17 in them, Laetrile, which is anti-cancerous, and it's just enough to stave off that hunger you get because all these jerks around here start eating all this food that you start you're looking at it, you're like, That's one of the things that bugged the crap out of me because, and that's the problem with Americans because everybody's doing the wrong thing. So if you're one person out there doing the right thing, it's going to be hard to stay on course. So that was one little trick I used to use when I used to take some apples with me because every time that would be enough to freaking keep your hunger down for an hour or two. And one other thing I used to do was another African herb, hoodia. Hoodia. That's an herb you want to chew. You don't want to just take the herb and swallow it because it doesn't work from your stomach. It works off the taste buds in your mouth. You want to chew the capsules or the herb, hoodia, and you'll find that it'll stave off your hunger for a lot of hours. That was another reason I dropped like 85 pounds in 5 months at that time, and it worked like a son of a bitch, man. But you got to keep the good foods in you to keep your energy up. But there is a problem with, maybe if you have your energy up, you will feel like I got to eat something because psychologically I feel hungry because all these people around me are eating food because wherever you work they're doing that and they're doing this and they're going to the soda machine, they're going to whatever the hell they're doing. But the more you do that, the more you're going to be counteracting all those herbs. And that's one of the big problems why sometimes people might say his stuff doesn't work because they're counteracting his herbs. So, there's a few pitfalls out there, but it does work if you follow it to the T. I think it does. I think this guy was 110% legit. But, the pitfalls are people are counteracting his herbs. Number two, they're not necessarily, they don't have the money to follow everything. And number three, it's like they're not, they're not doing all he says. He's not doing all he says. That's the other thing. So, and sometimes there could have been a problem with some of the people that were around him, where the person that was dealing with whoever was around him was not of the same caliber as Dr. Sebi himself. That's another problem. So, I don't want his message to get lost. It's been kind of a long video, but I wanted to put out some practical angles because, if you order his herb package, it ain't cheap, man. It ain't cheap. So what do you do if you can't afford that? Do the next best thing, right? So that's all I'm telling you, man, because, health is wealth, but it takes wealth to get health. And that's a problem right there. And that's your catch-22. And I'm trying to get a way around that catch-22 because I think there's cheaper ways of doing a lot of stuff that is pretty damn close to what he was doing. And bang for the buck, it's worth it. So that's the main point. Practicality all the way.